Rightio, welcome to this episode of the Stag Raw. Today we're with Mike Lovegrove, who is a good mate of mine from back at my Auckland University days, playing footy at University Rugby Club. We'd never really played in the same team. Mike was either a different age group or injured, but he was definitely good for a ride to training as a poor student. I don't know where Mike got his summer jobs, but he rolled up in a nice Hilux, which had some reason had a big light on the top. Mate, first before we get started, what happened to you last week when we scheduled this in? You sent me that you were worried about your heart. What was the actual story, brother?
Oh man, so I had some really weird pains, chest pains, and it wasn't muscular because at least it didn't feel like it was, because it wasn't my pecs or anything. It was something deep, and it was just when I either coughed or cleared my throat was really painful and gave me a bit of a fright actually. So my mum, who's a doctor, said go to A&E, get it checked out. And as soon as you go on there saying you got chest pains, you get rushed through. So I went through all different tests and came back clear. Essentially what I've done is I had sprained my chest, or strained one of those intercostal muscles, and that could have been caused by stress. So it was a good a bit of wake up call to chill out a little bit. And when you're about to go to bed at night, it's not a good time to answer emails. It's time to switch off. That type of thing. So it was I guess a non-serious wake up call, not to overdo it.
Nice, mate. So what did you get up to on the weekend? Just been then?
I was up in Auckland actually, so I'm living in Wellington now. But I was in Auckland and had been in Auckland for a few days for work. Stayed up there and visited my nana actually, and then flew back down on Sunday morning.
Brilliant. And so it's been a few years since I've seen you, mate. Who's Michael Lovegrove today?
It's almost hard to define. So I work a lot, but I don't feel like I work. So I run two companies at the moment. One being botbuild.ai and the other being Stag. And yes, some people would say that I work a lot, but I genuinely don't feel like I work that much, because I really enjoy what I do, and getting up in the morning is fun and exciting, and a weekend doesn't really, it's not like you really have any days off, but because there's no such thing as days off, like you're always striving towards a goal, whether it's reading a book about inbound marketing, or listening to a certain podcast, or it's actually doing some implementation work. You're always sort of working towards that overall goal. I mean, you need downtime, but when what you do is really enjoyable, you're always sort of striving towards that. So I guess Mike Lovegrove today just likes to achieve his goals.
Nice, mate. And so who are you listening to podcast wise? Is it somebody specific, or people's topics that catch your ears?
So there's a few that I really like to listen to. So Youpreneur it's not that relevant to me in terms of like the personal branding side of things, but it is really good in terms of efficiency, like personal efficiency, and some of the, I guess, the digital methodologies you can implement to help your business grow. And that can be spread across whether it's a personal brand or whether it's a technology company. It sort of holds true. Another one, obviously, the classics, Tim Ferriss. I think that guy's amazing. And then even Tony Robbins, when it comes to mindset. Some people think it's a bit of a cult following, and he probably does in some circumstances. But the general message is really good. And some of those messages, when I was younger, kind of changed my life in terms of that outlook. So those are my three.
How long have you been tracking Tony Robbins for, man?
Probably 4 years.
Yeah.
Probably first I've read Awaken the Giant Within when I was 21, and that was probably a game changer for me.
Nice, bro. And so, how do you sort of prime your day then if you're Tony Robbins Tony Robbins fan and Tim Ferriss fan. How do you
Yeah.
find that?
So I don't quite jump in an ice bath because don't have the facilities to do so. But I've been a little bit slack more recently, but generally the routine starts the night before. So no technology in your bedroom. Charge them outside of the bedroom, or charge your phone outside the bedroom. Then the morning, first thing, do some exercise, whether that's like even just a 10-minute run or something, get some oxygen in your body. Then meditate for 10 minutes again.
What do you use for that?
Headspace.
Yep, you are on Headspace. Nice.
Yeah, so I swear by that thing. Headspace is amazing. And then from there, it's generally shower, chuck some clothes on, and head off to the office.
Nice. And so you have an office.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Did you try working from home, or what sort of got you into an office?
We've always had, so from the day that we quit our day jobs to pursue this, we always had an office. We're like the cheapest place we could find to start with, and but since moving to Wellington, there's been a few companies who either invested in us or really like what we're doing and have given us free desk space. But in saying that as well, so that's down in Wellington, but we also pay for desk space and Biz Dojo up in Auckland.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like working from home occasionally can be good, but in terms of motivational levels, it's good having other people around you going hard for one reason or another. Working just by yourself in consolatory confinement works for some, but not for me.
Yeah. So what sort of personality would you describe yourself as then if you're into that team and, we had a good time at Varsity Rugby Club? How would you define yourself as a personality? I definitely see as a leadership type as well as, getting in amongst everybody.
Yeah. So I'm pretty fortunate in that case to have had lots of leadership opportunities when I was younger through various sports teams, some other co-curricular activities as well. And that's sort of naturally where I've landed with roles in my professional life as well. And so, I'm extremely extroverted and like to lead a team towards a common goal, or just help facilitate a team of people towards a common goal. And that just naturally ends up meaning that I sit in that leadership position. Yeah.
Nice, bro. What was the job you were doing before you went off into your own thing?
Oh, so there were a few that kind of led to doing my own thing. Like I went through 3 different jobs while starting Bot the Builder, and the reason for that, the initial catalyst for going down the entrepreneur path, this stick it to the man type thing, was working at a particular startup, and it was if I'm honest, it was going to shit, and we're like, well, we need to find some way to make some coin because otherwise we're going to be in the shit.
Yeah.
And we started throwing around some ideas, and we landed on this chatbot concept, or like let's just go and make a really cool chatbot. We're like, hang on a second, there's a bigger play here. What if we could do this to everybody? And there've been some other things going on, not bad things, just like problems with what we thought was problems with companies or problems with communication, where we thought that this could solve those issues. So we took that idea, and in the meantime, like obviously that company went under. Myself and co-founder, we started out of that company. We both went our separate ways to other companies and working for them, but we're obviously doing this on the side as we were working or contracting for other companies in various roles. And so, I basically went from a product manager role at the initial startup to a project manager in a technology company. And then I got approached by Spark, and I started working at Spark as what they were calling an agile delivery lead. Now, that essentially was trying to help the current project managers think in a more agile manner. Now, throwing out massive catchwords here, but that was the concept anyway. But by the time, I was only there for sort of 3-4 months, and at that stage, we'd started to gain a decent amount of interest with Bot the Builder, and there was no point, and like I basically had to dive in now or never. So I think overnight my salary dropped about 70%, and then I went through about 3 months of not paying myself at all because it was a bit dire. But came out the other side looking good. So yeah, so essentially we started the company like as a side hustle for 6 to 8 months, and then after that it was time to actually dive in.
Nice, bro. So the most exposure I've sort of had to bots is people's Instagram accounts that like my second last photo and put emojis of my photos.
Yeah.
Or with my girlfriend, she works as a chat leader for a company, and from what I gather, they're basically creating machine learning for a chat bot. What is chatbot, and what does it provide?
I think chatbot is an ugly word, and so that could be a problem with the company's name as well.
Yeah.
But essentially, what it allows you to do is have a one-to-many conversation, and say there are like the common misconception is that a bot is something that just answers your questions and sort of that's it. Whereas, say, we're able to do so much more with that. We're able to give it actual utility value. So like any given consumer can, say, buy a product or ask about something specific to this company or to the product they're purchasing. Like, where is it currently? Like, if you've bought a product and it's being shipped to you, where is this product? And that for a consumer means you're basically served instantly. Rather than having to call up. And from a company's point of view, it costs $10 to $15 per customer call. So they're saving a huge amount of money by having this type of technology, but the customer's also benefiting, and usually your net promoter score will increase. So you're not only serving your customer better, but you're also saving money at the same time. So if you're serving your customer better, chances are you can increase revenue at the same time. So that's, it sounds like it's almost too good to be true. There's a lot of planning and a lot of design work that has to go into getting that form of intelligence to the stage where it can do that. But if done correctly, then you can win drastically.
Oh, so does it take a big database of learned conversations?
Sometimes it depends what you're trying to do. Like, how you design, like the design element of a conversational engine. I think that's a better word than a chatbot. A conversation engine, like the design element of that, you can't underestimate how much time needs to go into that. And after you've actually got that concept of, okay, what are we actually wanting to provide, and what's the best way to be able to provide that, then you can start looking at where we're going to get this data from, and how are we going to train this particular intelligence to understand certain forms of language. There are libraries online that you can gain access to. The likes of Amazon, Facebook, IBM, they all have teams of almost 1,000 people working on natural language algorithms. So going having to recreate those isn't something you need to do, but you do have to train it from an intent point of view. Awesome.
That's becoming a lot clearer in my head. What's the second business you're involved with?
It's called OneStay. So essentially, it's an accommodation for the social business traveler. The reason we started that was because of my Bot the Builder commitments. I was traveling to and from Wellington all the time, and I was staying in from Auckland, that is. I was staying in an Airbnb, and I was getting lonely. So, and I was like, surely there are more people like me around. And so we came up with this idea of OneStay, which would be like an apartment setting, but you'd rent out each room individually.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you could connect other business travelers, hopefully from all around the world. And so it became a networking opportunity for these people staying at a particular place like OneStay. But then we thought, well, hang on a second, we can go so much further than this, because in like your hotel and lodging businesses, it can be quite profitable if run correctly. So not only could we connect business travelers to each other, but we could also use the profits to help those in need. And what we've decided to do or to aim for is to be able to generate enough income out of a building to be able to rent another building for homeless people. So like, I don't know the first thing really about getting someone back on their feet when they're that far behind, but we can at least provide the roof over the head and then let the social workers do their thing with the homeless people, like helping them get back or get on their feet. And the other element to that is the person that is hosting in a particular one stay apartment is able to almost live for free. And so there's a real, and again, I know firsthand, when you're thinking of leaving, or when you have a side hustle, and you're making maybe a couple $100 a month, and you can do that while you're still working full-time for a particular employer. But then when you want to go full-time, or when you decide, okay, I want to do this full-time, but I actually can't because I need my income from my actual job, but in order to earn enough from my side hustle, I have to leave my job. And you're stuck in that middle ground of what do I do or when do I go? And so what we want to be able to do is, okay, so we're generating enough revenue via this model to not only help homeless people, but a host can essentially live under the roof as well and live for free and then do 10 to 15 hours worth of work, making sure that the apartment is in a nice condition and that type of thing. And then they can work the full week on their business and actually get it off the ground.
Awesome, mate. How have you found the difference in terms of finding investors and support with this more sort of social-based business versus your, I guess you'd call it commercial business?
Yeah.
How have you found the interest and the level of people willing to help you out between the two? It was probably a good comparison to be able to get involved in both.
Yeah, so what the builder has much more likelihood of scalability. Mm-hmm. So it's more interesting for investors to throw money at it. But from the one stay aspect, when you explain this to people, everybody just goes, wow, if you can do that, that is like, it can be a profitable business as well, but it also has a massive social angle to it. And you talk about the triple bottom line being economically feasible, being socially acceptable, and then environmentally friendly. And if you can hit all those three things, then and one state has the potential to really do that, then that's really cool too. And I would say the reactions when you explain what one stay is much more positive than bot the builder. It just probably doesn't have it doesn't have anywhere near as lucrative business model. So from an investment point of view, people want to get behind it who don't just want to make money for the sake of making money. However, we are doing social projects within bot the builder, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But with one stay, the whole idea of the business is to help others. So if someone wants to invest money into that, they can do so. And let's say it doesn't go up, it doesn't have a massive yield. They don't have that much of a problem with that because it's helping other people.
Yeah, nice, bro. And so obviously both these things sort of seem quite lateral in the way that they're thought about. What was your background? What were you studying at university to get this experience in technology and then have the confidence to go forward with it?
So I studied accounting.
Was it worthwhile?
Yeah, so I studied science and commerce at uni. Initially started out on health science, so and probably drank a bit too much in first year and focused on things like rugby. So I didn't get into medicine. And when I changed to science and commerce, I did accounting, finance, and statistics. So none of that really pointed to what I'm doing now. But what it did point to was professional services. So I did intern at one of the large accounting firms and realized I did not like that at all. And at that point in my life, to be honest, I had a bit of a roadblock. I was like, well, I had quite a quite an easy upbringing. That's probably the best way to put it. Like sort of every opportunity that sort of landed on my lap, I had the ability to take with both hands because I had a tremendous amount of support. And so when sort of things started to not really go my way at university, with not being that passionate about what I was studying, or the kind of direction of where my degree was pointing, that was a bit of a road, or a bit of a hiccup for me personally, and that I basically had to go back and reassess. So I had a number of different corporate offers when I was leaving varsity, from again large corporates, and I declined them all, which most people are like, "You're an idiot," and I guess that was a case of going almost against the status quo with that one. And I joined a startup. The startup I joined was the one that went to the pits. But I was getting, I think it was about 15,000 less than what some of the other offers had been from the corporates. But I thought, well, if I go into that company and I can get my hands dirty and hopefully learn a whole heap across a number of things, not necessarily because I would have guidance, but because I'd be allowed to experiment. Because they only had a small team. And that was, so it was almost that led me into technology rather than what I studied at university. Or what I studied at university almost showed me the door of what I didn't want to do, and then prompted me to try something else. And it's that something else that I fell in love with. And that almost been just scalable technology.
Nice. And so often think of university as teaching you how to learn.
Yeah.
Are you quite quick at picking up stuff now, or finding the right places to find the information you want, do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty motivated in that sense. Like, if I'm interested in something, I'll read, and we'll read a lot about it. But also, there's nothing more, more beneficial to your learning than actually doing. And so it's okay, read a bit about this, whatever it is, and then just try and implement that. Whether that, again, like I use the example I spoke about earlier, like the inbound marketing thing. If you start reading up on that, just try it out, see what happens. And if you apply, like for me personally, if I apply that ethos to whatever I do, then it seems to work, or you eventually find a way that it does work.
Nice. And so you said working in that first startup, you were quite a small team. Did you sort of feel that any idea you had was well received and shared and could be worked on, or were you sort of working towards somebody else's goal?
No, like I thought the guy who started that company was a real nice guy. And he was very supportive of other people's ideas. And I ended up, I went in as a business development manager and moved into like a head of product role where I was managing the tech team. And like inexperienced to be able to do that. But this particular guy had faith that I'd be able to pull through, and sort of learn pretty quickly to get myself to that level. And I did. That's why I had those other jobs with other companies, because of that initial experience. So you say that like pay cut to start with ended up promoting much higher growth in that 1 year than I would have in another corporate job. So no, like I think that I was. This is a bit of a digression, but say that by taking that role, yes, I reduced my salary about 15K in that first year, you could say. But by the end, when I got approached by Spark, that was all in the space of a year. And that role would have been about 150% more than anyone who had taken a grad program offer.
It was still stuck in a grad program for
yeah,
1 to 2 years. Yeah.
Exactly. So it gave me a good opportunity just to earn some like quick cash, to be honest, before going off into my own venture, where little did I know I wasn't going to pay myself for 3 months. So it was kind of needed in that sense. But yeah, so like the support that, or I guess the rope that I was given in that first job allowed me to grow, which allowed me to move into the next job and then into the next job where, again, got paid enough that I'd have a big enough buffer so that, yeah, when starting my own venture, if things went south, well, I had a few months to make sure I could fix it before even to close up shop. And obviously we didn't need to close up shop, but sort of around the time when we potentially might have had to, we got a few big contracts.
Lovely. Two things on that first startup. How important was it to have a mentor like that gives you a bit of rope, gives you a bit of leeway, and are you bouncing ideas off some experienced people at the moment?
Yeah, so there was, like, giving that amount of rope was, I think, quite crucial to my development. But what was also really crucial was there was a lot of things that were done poorly within that startup, mainly from a governance level, and learning what not to do was pretty crucial to what we're doing now. So we've been pretty fortunate with Bot the Builder. We have an exceptional team of people around us who are supporting what we're doing in an advisory capacity or as external directors or what have you, who have been there, done that with companies all around the world. And I mean, I don't have any experience growing a company from nothing to an international, juggernaut or anything, but these people do. And I'm a big believer that you learn from your own mistakes, you gain experience, or you learn from someone else's and you gain wisdom. I can't remember who said that or where I read that quote, but I reckon that's really true. And if you can always learn something from someone, and if you can find someone that's in a position that you would like to be in, then generally they'll have good business advice. I mean, sometimes you have to take it with a grain of salt for sure, but a lot of times the general advice can be applied to whatever kind of business you're in. So I think that is pretty vital to where we're at today, is the support network that we have.
Lovely. And how did you go about choosing the right people to sort of govern what you're doing? Like you said, as a matter of experience, us towards the end of our 20s, we're sort of looking at it going, yeah, I want to learn how to run a company and be part of decision making of a company that's looking to ahead long term, but I don't have any experience. And then you look at boards and things and go, how do I get on there? What sort of some advice of creating a good board and being a part of that decision? And probably for any boards out there, what do you think the value is in having someone of our age group on a board and bringing fresh ideas into that sort of environment? So it's a bit of a long barrel question, but how did you choose your board, and what do you sort of feel about being part of that?
This is one thing that I've read quite a few books on hiring the right people and stuff, and subsequently, and I kind of went against everything that is kind of written about this type of stuff. So they often say, you can not employ someone based on your gut feel, but don't employ someone based on your gut feel. And that is essentially what I did the whole way through, was based on my gut. And but in some cases, like, there was nothing that could really prevent that. So and when you're really early stage, like just a concept, you don't have anything, you're gonna take whatever you can get. And we got backed by a law and consulting firm out of Wellington pretty early on, like while we were still a concept, and they became basically our board.
Mm-hmm.
And they're highly connected people, and I think we got very lucky with them. We got very lucky. So they because of their connections with people here, there, and everywhere, and it's basically from that decision of making sure you're aligning yourself with someone or a group of people who saw the value that you could bring, but I think also align with you in an ethical way.
Yep.
So, okay, this isn't just about making money, this is about making the world a better place. That was kind of crucial. And so because of that, we developed like quite a good board. I mean, in saying that though, you always want someone who sees your blind spots. So, if you got someone that's always agreeing with either the wrong person, you want to be able to have people in the room who have differing opinions, can back up their differing opinions, and then you can come to a conclusion. You can have an argument if you like, but at the end of the day, you know that you're moving towards the common goal. Now, from a younger person being on a board, I guess what you bring is that raw enthusiasm. You might lack the experience, but generally you have more energy. You might not have chance that you don't have kids, and so pulling those longer hours are okay because you can be that little more selfish, and so like someone sort of towards their late 20s, that's when you're gunning. I feel you've got a decent amount of experience. Like it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in a particular field. I don't know if you're familiar with I don't remember the name of that dude, but man, his books are good. And
it's not Naval Ravikant, is it?
No, it sounds similar, but anyway, like this thing was basically like, huh?
Said it's in Tools of Titans.
Yeah, I bet it is. I've got that sitting as my bed.
Yeah.
And so 10,000 hours, essentially 5 years of full-time work. Now you can have that if you've gone and studied.
Somebody's
cool, mate.
Shouldn't be. Hold on a second. Here we go. My apologies.
Yeah, you're right, mate. So you can essentially be an expert in a given field by age of 25, 26. That's if you've only started after university, but chances are if it's like around, say in my case, around like basically my role has been connecting the right people and building a team and going forward. Like I started leading teams of people when I was like 10 years old. And so I probably hit the expert level very early on in my professional career, like knowing how to get the most out of other people because of the amount of hours spent like as a captain of a sports team, as a leader in a more co-curricular activity, like head boy at school, those type of things, was always pushing towards those 10,000 hours to then be at that expert level. So by sort of 23, you already know how to manage a team of people. Well, not manage, lead a team of people. So when boards, if they're skeptical about having someone young on board, well, you could have someone pretty young who have more experience than someone who's in their 30s or 40s. So, if it's in their particular field. So I feel it's worthwhile.
Nice. Do you have any tips for connecting up to a more time experienced group of people? How have you guys gone about, I guess, networking with people who have that business building experience?
So a lot of my networking has been done via just talking with whoever wants to listen. To start with, it was just who wants to listen to this rubbish I'm spinning, and then it went from there with actually, okay, how can I help this person? So even though they're 20 years my senior, I basically have nothing to offer, or it feels like nothing to offer. How can I help them? And as soon as you take that approach to, I think, every single kind of introduction that you have or make, then it just starts to naturally open up and your network starts to grow quite rapidly. Like I'm pretty fortunate in that respect now. Like in the last year, my network is just blowing up. And the people that I'm rubbing shoulders with, inviting a few months ago, I got invited to a dinner with Dutch ambassador, like really cool events.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to, you're always trying to do your best, but you're also trying to help someone else. And if you can do that, then people will like you, I guess.
Nice, mate. without disrupting your circadian rhythm, have you got a wee light there? you're
Oh,
fading,
yeah.
you're fading away into the darkness.
Sorry, mate. Is that better?
That's awesome. It's touched on there. You've been in a whole bunch of leadership roles throughout school. What, taking you back another 5 years, what would be something that would define you as a 5-year-old that follows through in today?
So something that what I was like when I was 5,
Yeah,
and to what I was like now. I like to win.
yeah.
that's probably something that's become more and more evident.
How did that show
Yeah.
up as a 5-year-old man?
I did not like to lose at athletics, at swimming, like at say the swimming sports, or heck, the first one to sit on the mat, like when you're 5 years old, like I'm straight there, I'm sitting arms crossed up straight, trying to get like a tick on your name's on the board and you can get a tick. Yeah, trying to get as many ticks as possible. Like I think that competitive nature started from 5-year-old. I was much more of a prick when I was younger though. Like it was more about focus on that rather than other people, which was bad. But hopefully that part of me's kind of exited.
Nice.
But the competitive nature is still there. I mean, that's what naturally draws you to sports teams and stuff, right? Because you can go to war with your brothers.
Nice, bro. And yeah, carry on about how do you check yourself and balance yourself by not becoming a prick but being ambitious and striving towards, like you said, the thing that gets you out of the bed each day is striving towards your goals and being the best. How do you check that with not becoming a prick and
Yeah.
down and pushing them out of the way?
Yeah, well, I guess there's like if you do strive to please everyone, you do please no one. So I'm a big believer in that. But at the same time, you should always be able to, like whatever you are doing, there should be some social aspect to that. I'm not talking about being a socialite, but adding to society in some way, shape, or form. And if you're striving towards doing that, then you're going to have hard conversations along the way with various people, and that's inevitable. Where I think like I've personally changed a lot is understanding that, hey, the self-made man thing is kind of rubbish. Well, particularly in my case, like I've had a tremendous amount of support from so many different people, and it's about acknowledging that and making sure that those people know that they have played a massive part in where I am now and where I will be in 5-10 years. And I definitely didn't acknowledge that when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like, okay, so I've achieved this and it's been because of me. But that was bullshit there. I don't even know how that mentality was there. Because as I said, I had a really easy upbringing, very supported upbringing, very supported through any sort of half tough time, which isn't even tough in comparison to most. And I guess it's just acknowledging that that everyone comes from a different walk of life. So, if your waiter or waitress snaps at you when you're ordering a coffee, it's nothing to do with you, man. They're probably having a bad day, and not to get all upset about it. Like that, it's almost like that mentality shift. Yeah.
Cool. And you've experienced a whole bunch of walks of life. You've done 2 OEs now, is that right?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate in that sense too. So after uni, sold the car, decided to use those funds to go on a 3-month bender, and yeah, that was an eye opener in itself. I think everybody should travel in some way, shape, or form. There's not like for some they say, oh, it costs a lot. Like you can definitely do it. Like even say for a couple of years, just put 10, 20, 30 bucks aside a week. No, that probably make much of a dent. But like just do what you can to get there. Figure out a way to be able to do it, because it'll just be an eye opener to actually little old New Zealand isn't. Little old New Zealand is the best place in the world. But when you go out and experience and see how big the world actually is, and experience other cultures, it can just change your perception, and probably make you more grateful, I feel. So going out and meeting all those people from different walks of life also challenges your opinion, challenges your perception, makes you into a more rounded person. That's what I really got from all of that, all the traveling that I've done. So I've been really fortunate to go and explore, say, the Americas, and parts in Europe a couple of times. And yeah, what I find is those culture differences. Now, again, both of those cultures are probably the most similar to what we have here, but it's still different and you can still take something from that. And that's almost why I feel that everyone should travel, is because it'll just open your eyes to what's kind of out there, and put in perspective maybe how lucky you are, or the particular job that you want to have, or the particular people you want to hang out with, whether material items matter to you. Like, there's a whole range of things that you benefit from going and traveling. Doesn't mean you have to go and travel for a year, but just go and experience a different culture.
No, so with the exception of selling a nice Hilux, what ways did you keep yourself sort of budgeted, or cut quarters to keep yourself, in the positive and enjoying yourself over there? What would be some of your key tips to traveling the likes of Europe or South America?
Hostels, obviously, like the cheapest way to go. You don't necessarily need to go and stay, like we stayed in, like, sort of relatively nice hostels. But one of the things I always look for is breakfast included, because you just load up on breakfast, and then you don't have to buy breakfast, and potentially you don't have to buy lunch. You just wait till dinner. And so you probably even save money on doing that, rather than going getting the cheapest hostel. Being in a hostel's obviously central, because then you can just get around by foot. That's pretty handy. I don't know, cheap beers. That's always a good way to go. Like, so we, and yeah, it depends. Like, it purely depends on budget. Like, we went, like, I am not one to, like, if I'm over there, when you travel there from New Zealand, you've spent a lot of money already getting there. You might as well have a good time. So if there was something we really wanted to do, we'd do it. And went over there with a certain budget, and came back and still had sort of $5,000 sitting there. So we had a good time, and we still didn't, like, came in under budget, which was an awesome feeling. Most people do the opposite. And that was, I think, basically, because we made sure we stayed in those central hostels with breakfast. Like, I honestly reckon that was the big cost saver.
Nice, bro. Speaking of breakfast, do you have it now? What is the first sort of 90 minutes, to give you a Tim Ferriss question? What does the first 90 minutes of your day look like now?
So there's the exercise part, the meditation part. Breakfast is like some popular guy, Stag.
Goodness me.
Aren't you? Do you live with the missus?
Yep.
Who's ringing you then?
It's my good mate from down the Hawke's Bay. Must have some more deer for us to get rid of.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. So the first 90 minutes, essentially the exercise, meditation, breakfast. Breakfast is, if I'm lucky, I have my mum's homemade granola or muesli with a cup of berries and some Greek yogurt. Mix that around. That's primo. And a coffee. That'll be my breakfast.
How do you have
in the weekend? Just black, straight black.
And
try to avoid too much dairy.
Yeah. Are you making your coffee, or?
Yeah. Yep. Make that coffee. And a potential will. And it's probably outside the 90-minute window. I'll buy another one on the way to the office.
Yeah.
I do quite like coffee. I like the taste. Because like it's not necessarily I need this to function. I actually genuinely like the taste of coffee.
What brew do you go with? You're in a bit of a mecca there in Wellington. Do you have a specific grinds that you go for, or
A specific place that I go buy the coffee.
yeah?
Well, my favorite place in Wellington is Prefab. I think most people would probably say the same if they've been there.
Yeah,
But
mate.
it's a little bit out of the way for where I work. So there's another place called Zumo,
Yeah,
which I go to, and then there's a Columbia roast. You get the Columbia roast. That's usually, and that's more on the way to work. So I'll go there.
fantastic. And how does your day start when you get there? Is it putting out fires or?
Nah, you start with putting out fires, man, and your day feels like you get nothing done. So, I mean, a bit of a culprit of opening the emails early on, but try to keep them turned off, because looking at some of the statistics for how many emails I'm sending a week is just bollocks. So try to get them turned off, because you don't want to, like, if your to-do list is your inbox, you get nothing done. So yeah, it's generally the mornings is the time to be creative, whether that's writing a blog post, designing a proposal, something along those lines. That'll be what my morning consists of usually. I always stand up as well. Like every morning we, as a team, will jump on a call together. So we've got people posted, I mean, sometimes over in Europe, and so we all jump on a call in the morning, see how everyone's feeling, and then carry on. The benefit of that is that when you've got a remote team, you want to know how people are feeling, because there might be a reason why they're lagging behind or why they are performing well, and you want to be able to relate that to something. So it's really good to have that check-in the morning, like nothing to do with work, just how are you feeling?
So how do you guys sort of measure success within you guys in the early days? What's the KPI for you? It's great to hear you asking how are you doing,
Yeah.
every day. What sort of are your markers at the moment?
Well, we've got so our main like value is Kaizen, constant or constant improvement, and that can be in a number of things, right? So we always want to love what we're doing. So that's kind of first and foremost. You start loving what you're doing, then something's wrong. Then the company ethos has to change, or something has to change. And then secondly, it's how many people are we providing value to? Not necessarily just like our customers, but the customers of our customers, because that's what our product is. We're a B2B solution that helps companies become more efficient and connect with all of their customers. And it's so how many end consumers are we positively affecting? And the more that you do those two things for us, and we'll end up in a good place. I mean, we measure a whole range of other like smaller metrics, but overall, those are the ones that matter.
Awesome, bro. And so if people want to check out your two businesses, where do they find those, bro?
So if you go to www.botbuild.ai, you'll find the Bot the Builder website, and onestay.co is the OneStay website.
Nice.
Or you just look on LinkedIn; they're both on there.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, OneStay's not on there, but Bot the Builder is.
Fantastic. And where do they find you, mate?
Like physically or online?
Online, bro.
I was going to say you can find me in Wellington,
Yeah.
roaming the streets.
Prefab.
Yeah, so yeah, and the weekend for sure. Now, so well, you can find Instagram, which I haven't been using much more recently. Been a bit busy, but Mike Lovegrove on Instagram, or Michael Lovegrove on LinkedIn is probably the places to look me up.
Awesome, mate. And if you had to leave us with something, we're targeting dudes about our age. What would you sort of say to them, or what would be a message for people out there to be happy? What would your philosophy on that be?
Oh mate, it's almost like trust your gut and take the plunge. Like I think now's the best time to do it. When you've got nothing to lose, like if you don't have, as you get older, you become more and more tied down with various commitments, whether that's mortgage repayments. I mean, we're supposed to be generation rent, so that shouldn't be a problem. But if it's mortgage repayments or it's your kids, there's always going to be something that's slowing down. And I think at the moment, like whether you're contemplating traveling or contemplating starting your own business or moving overseas, whatever it is, there's no better time than today. So take the plunge, hand in your resignation, or do what you have to do to just start making strides towards that goal now, rather than putting it off, because you put it off, it just won't happen.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And yes, definitely get away from those mortgage repayments and kids.
Yeah, yeah, you must be close to that now, mate.
Yeah, no, a few more months left, but no, it's a different type of adventure. It's pretty exciting. Oh well, man, thanks so much for coming on board and doing this. Massive amounts of information there, bro, and it's so cool to catch up with you again and hear what's been going down. And hopefully, anybody out there that's looking for that little side hustle to move it forward, get some inspiration out of what you've done. It's been awesome.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me on the show, man. Very, very humbled to be part of it.
Awesome, bro. Cheers.